All right, Trustee Church, before I hit the gavel and call the meeting to order, just wanted very good. All right, you are with us. Okay, everyone. It is 2:03 p.m. on Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023, and this is our regular meeting of the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees. And now I would like to invite Clerk Rodriguez to do roll call.
Thank you, Madam President. Trustee Mayberry? I'm here. Vice President Nicolette?
Good afternoon.
I'm here. President Smith?
Here.
Here, yeah. Trustee Westlake?
Here.
Trustee Woodley?
Here.
Trustee Church? Zoom. And student representative is not in yet. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. We are going to be honoring a special person with today's pledge. So before you get up and before I say your name, we're going to take a moment to recognize you, Vanjie Russell. Vanjie has been with the Washoe County School District for 30 years. She started as an educational support person and worked her way through many schools, supporting them with their administration needs. Then in 2004, she came up to district administration. She has run the thousands and thousands of students for our graduation. When we go and we wonder, wow, this looks so beautiful, it's so well done, it's done absolutely seamlessly, that is because of the talent of Vanjie Russell. She has served our community with honor and grace, and we honor her with 30 years. So congratulations on your retirement, and would you please do us the honor of the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will recognize you after that as well. And so now I would like Ms. Russell and my trustee colleagues and the superintendent to come up, where we are going to honor you with the Distinguished Service Award for the Washoe County School District. All right. Thank you so much for that and for recognizing Vanjie. Now I'll move on to item 1.04, our land acknowledgement. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We acknowledge that some of our educational structures are situated in the traditional homelands of the Washoe, Washoe, Numu, Northern Paiute, Niwi, Western Shoshone, and Nuwu, Southern Paiute peoples. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. These lands continue to be a gathering place for Indigenous people, and we recognize their deep connections to these places. We extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live and learn in their territory. Thank you. So that brings us to the conclusion of item 1.04. I would also like to acknowledge for my colleagues and the community that staff is requesting that agenda item 3.02. This was the presentation and discussion on excellence targets, key actions, and the strategy map for WCSD's 3-year strategic plan, that we will be pulling that item. We will be returning for that discussion at a future meeting. And so then that closes out section 1 and brings us to section 2. These are our consent agenda items. I have not heard from any of my colleagues about these items, so now would be the time if anyone would like to request any item for being pulled. All right. Seeing no lights or comments, that means, and I also see no lights for comment, JJ, we are now considering in one group items 2.02 to 2.18. Do we have any public comment on any of those?
I have no cards.
Very good. Trustee Woodley.
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve that the Board of Trustees approves consent agenda items 2.02 through 2.18.
Second.
All right, motion by Trustee Woodley, seconded by Clerk Rodriguez. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no lights and hands, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Excellent. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much, colleagues. All right, that closes section 2, and we'll move on to section 3, which are our main items for discussion. We'll go ahead and we'll open now for item 3.01. This is the discussion and possible action to affirm the recommendation of the Group Insurance Committee for a group health insurance rate increase of 6%. That's an increase to the qualified high deductible health plan, also known as the QHDHP, the individual deductible from $3,000 to $3,200, in addition to a lifetime limit of child-only orthodontia benefit, and a decrease to preventative dental cleanings and exams from 3 annual cleanings exams to 2 annual cleanings exams for the 2024 plan year. This is an item for possible action. And we welcome with us today our Chief Talent Officer, Dr. Christina Mason, and our Interim Benefits Manager, Mackenzie Howren. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Smith and trustees. I'm Dr. Christina Mason, the very proud Chief Talent Officer, and we are going to bring forth our recommendations to you today. All of the things that we do are tied to our WCSD promise, knowing all of our students by name, strength, and need, and doing that in partnerships with families and communities. This item represents us knowing our staff by name, strength, and need, and providing for them benefits for their families and community. Again, when we think about our pillars, this falls squarely within Pillar C, which is our commitment to elevating our educators. Our Group Insurance Committee meets monthly, and they are comprised of stakeholders from across our system. These are our current members. I'll give you a minute to check them out there. As you can see, we have certificated staff, we have classified staff members, administrators, representatives from both the ProTech side of the house and the psychologist side of the house, school police, and non-represented management. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to, yes, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. And this slide is really very helpful just for our information and also for the community. This collection of committee members is not accidental. And as a matter of fact, the creation of this group is based on agreements that we have for representation with our bargaining groups. Can you just take a moment to kind of walk through like how that committee was really formed and just so that everyone understands that this is not the district making these decisions, that these are based on other agreements that we have for reasonable representation with our groups?
Yes, I'm going to actually introduce Mackenzie Howren, who is our interim benefits manager, to talk about that and to carry us forward in the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Mason, and thank you for the question. So our group insurance committee is tasked with hearing recommendations from our broker LP, and if you have not come to an insurance committee and heard our broker LP come and speak, they do a fabulous job explaining something that is incredibly difficult, as health insurance is. So the committee was created to ensure that a voice from all of our associations was present when we were making these big decisions, because our health insurance is self-funded, and we'll get to that farther in the presentation. And I think when we describe what it means to be self-insured, I think it'll become very clear on why it's important to have a voice from all of our associations present when we have these discussions. Okay. So in preparation for today's presentation, we pulled some quick stats on what our current member population looks like. So when we pulled these, we had just over 6,000 active employees, around 700 retirees, and of that total, almost 7,000, 2,211 of them had dependents. What I want you to focus on is the total covered lives of 11,317. That is the population in our care that I want us to keep in mind when we have this conversation. So this is a slide that I think is going to be really helpful for context. Because, like I said, health insurance is complex and very difficult. So what does it mean to be self-insured? That's a term that I think we throw around a lot, but it's a vocab word that we're not quizzed on as frequently as we should be. So to be self-insured means that our district and our member paid premiums are deposited into a health insurance fund. So those premiums come into our fund, and when our members, those 11,000 people, start utilizing their health insurance, we start receiving claims, and those claims are paid out of this fund, okay? And our district will pay for those claims up until that claim reaches a total cost of $425,000. That is when our excess carrier stop loss coverage starts to come into action. We are here presenting to you today because when the total claims coming out of this fund exceed the total premiums coming in, we either need to talk about rate increases and or benefit changes to make sure that we are keeping our health insurance fund at a healthy balance. So how do we ensure that it is going to stay at a healthy balance? Well, again, our broker LP is fabulous, and so is our budget office. And they do a lot of analysis to make sure that our fund stays healthy. But some insight into what that process looks like. LP, our broker, took all of the claims that our members utilized from May 2022 through April 2023 and looked at that total cost that we had for claims. And based off that total cost, they made a projection of what we will utilize in 2024. They then added in the fixed costs that we have for regular health insurance contracts and regular proceedings, and came up with this 80 million number, okay? And so that is the expense that they project we're going to utilize or spend in 2024. So in order to make sure that our fund is healthy, we then need a revenue of also 80 million, okay? Now to get to that 80 million number, they recommended to us that we increase our premium rates by 8%. If we do that, we will then keep our fund equal, if you will. So what we did is we brought this explanation and this 8% rate increase recommendation to our group health insurance committee. And over 2 meetings, they had a very difficult decision and discussion of what would be best to keep our health insurance fund healthy and then what would be best for our members. Our health insurance committee is now recommending that we increase our rates by 6%. That will give us just over $78 million, which means we're about $1.5 million short of the projection that our broker had for us. They made this decision in, like I said, trying to balance what's best for our member and then what's best for our health insurance fund. So with that, we are bringing forth the Group Insurance Committee recommendation of a 6% increase for health insurance premium rates. We are also bringing forth an increase to the high deductible health plan individual deductible from $3,000 to $3,200, which is a mandate. And then we are also bringing forth the addition of a 1,000 lifetime limit of child-only orthodontia benefit. And we can do this if we decrease our dental cleanings from 3 annual exams to 2 annual exams. And this would begin on January 1st for our 2024 plan year.
Thank you so much, Ms. Howren. Question for you, going back to slide 8. So I'll round up. I see that the number is 1,483,000. It's roughly about $1.5 million. Where will that additional funding be drawn from, or is it like a risk that we may or may not need? Can you help me understand where that $1.5 million comes from, or what happens with it?
Sure. So I'll give you the basic answer, and then if Mark wants to come up and give you a much more complicated answer, he can. So the 6% increase will mean that $78 million is coming into our health insurance fund. We have money currently in that health insurance fund, right? So if we think of it as a savings account, that $1.5 million will then dip into that savings account if we do stay on the projection of spending $80 million.
Very good. And now I have a much better idea of how they landed at the 6%, which I think is very reasonable, personally.
Yeah.
And I will also say, for just anyone who maybe also receives insurance like I do from other places, that 2 annual cleanings is very standard for dental care, unless you're in a unique situation with your oral health. All right, colleagues, are there any clarifying questions that we have before we go to public comment? Trustee Mayberry, followed by Dr. Nicolette.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's hard not to support something that has gotten the blessing of all the employee groups. So I appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate the committee too for the work they do, and particularly the chairman, Robert Munson. Clarifying question on the active employees is 6,233. So those are the active employees that are eligible for health insurance today.
So that is the actual number of active employees on our plan.
Okay,
That's not the number of people who are eligible. The number of people who are eligible would be higher
would
than
be
that.
much higher. I guess that. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, because I thought that was a really low number, but,
Yeah.
but that's the key word, active. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the $1,000 lifetime limit of child-only orthodontal benefit. Is that new?
It is new.
Okay.
Yeah, so like President Smith mentioned, standard health insurance programs cover 2 dental cleanings every year. That's pretty normal.
Sure.
Ours was pretty rich in covering 3 every year, but we did not have any orthodontia benefit for our children.
Okay.
And so this plan change will keep us in line with what's standard across our health insurance plans with 2 cleanings and then add an orthodontia benefit.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
That's great. That's good. I first want to say you did an excellent job of explaining this, and I mean that sincerely. So in our packet, we had, I believe, 3 attachments.
Okay.
And the attachment I would like us to look at is attachment that shows the district at 6%. Because what I'm really getting at is an understanding of the increase, if there is one, that employees will pay with the 6%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you speaking about like a month-to-month basis of what it might look in an employee's paycheck? Yeah. Okay. Do you have a specific scenario that we want to look at, or do we want to look at it a couple? A couple. Okay.
Couple, please.
Why not? More examples help. So if we are looking at an employee and a spouse, so we have an active employee who has their spouse on our coverage as well. This year, well, let's also clarify, I'm looking at the PPO plan right now. So their total premium right now is $1,258.25. if we approve a 6% rate increase, beginning on January 1st, it will be $1,331.09. Okay. Now, if we look down at our HSA medical plan, let's stick with the same scenario of we have an employee and they have a spouse on their plan. That member currently pays $861.48 per month. And then with a 6% increase, they will be paying $912.14.
So to be clear, thank you. You really do explain this so basically. Appreciate that. Going back to the HSA and the employee and the spouse, the district pays $568.39. And okay.
Yeah.
And the employee then pays the $214.23.
Yep.
Yes?
And so that if we look at employee only, that premium will increase as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Westlake, did you have a question? Or very good. All right. I don't see any other clarifying questions. Thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Kaylin Evans.
Hi, President Evans.
Hi, thank you. My name is Kaylin Evans, president of the Washoe Education Association. Just wanted to be on the record and saying thank you to the insurance committee. The amount of work that they go in to make these decisions and bring recommendations forward to the board. Our treasurer, Robert Munson, chairs that committee, puts a significant amount of work into that. And I also want to say thank you to, the business office in terms of coming to an agreement on that 6%. We understand that, any increases are obviously going to impact, but we understand the importance of keeping this fund healthy and being able to say, we see 8, but we have some money in reserves and we can offset those costs right now to lower the impact that it's going to have on the entire staff. We just want to say thank you for the work and also coming to that a good compromise on this number. So thank you.
Thank you very much, President Evans.
That's all I have for this item.
All right. I see a light from Trustee Mayberry.
If you'll entertain a motion, I'll be happy to make one.
I entertain everything.
I will be happy to do that. I'll go ahead and move to approve item 3.02 as stated.
Oh,
You want me to be specific?
no, 3.01 is the one we're
Oh, I
on.
apologize. We are on 3. Yeah, okay, I'm aware of that. Item 3.01. I move to approve item 3.01.
Second.
All right, so motion by Trustee Mayberry, seconded by Vice President Nicolette. Are there any discussion or questions on the motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much. And you really did a fantastic job with this. So you also need to come and do this every time because you did a really great job for a topic that can be a difficult one. So excellent job. Thank you.
She's homegrown. She's a graduate of WCSD schools.
I am a graduate of WCSD schools, and I have a really fabulous team behind me.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So that closes item 3.01, and as we know, we pulled item 3.02. So that brings us to item 3.03. This is the presentation and discussion to update the Board of Trustees on the actions taken by the Washoe County School District to address Goal 3, Safety and Belonging, and ensure student and staff safety and connectedness as included in the strategic plan for the 2023-24 school year. This is an item for information and discussion only, and we have a blockbuster lineup. Starting with our Chief of School Police, Jason Trevino, our Detective of School Police, Eric Diamond, another detective within our Reno Police Department, Chris Johnson, and our Chief Operating Officer, Adam Searcy.
Well, thank you for that stellar introduction. I was looking around to see who the special guests were because I didn't think it was Adam and I, that's for sure. Yeah, apparently. But with that being said, thank you so much for having us today to bring you this update. And unfortunately, Detective Johnson is tied up in training right now, so he may or may not make the presentation time depending on where we're at when we get to that point. But Detective Diamond's here and can handle that for us. All right, Jason Trevino, Chief of Police. I'm here with Adam Searcy, our Chief Operating Officer, and we're going to go through this presentation a little bit. I'll start it off and then turn over to Adam, and then we'll bring it back. All right, so as you can see there, our promise, we'll know every student by name, strength, and need. This is from our new strategic plan. As school police, we obviously embody this as well as members of the district. It's everyone's job to make sure that we're ensuring this, and our officers are seeing that every single day. And that's one of the things I've always said about our officers is they truly do know every student in their school by name, strength, and need. That's been one of their high points for many years. This is under safety and belonging as the pillar. Obviously, safety falls under law enforcement falls under safety and belonging, and is also very high encompassing other than just physical safety, emotional safety, and we'll talk about those things as we get towards the end of the presentation as well. Just a real quick overview. We gave a presentation not too long ago that kind of went over this more in depth, so I'll just kind of touch on it real quick. But the role of the WCSD School Police Department is to provide law enforcement resources to Washoe County School District students, school administrators, teachers, staff, and parents. Through continued enhancement and development of programs and services, we will strive to support the educational needs of the school system and the community. And to go back to what we were just joking about with Astro, I think that's a prime example of, you know, enhancing and coming up with new programs to provide safety to our staff and students. Again, just touch on these real quick. The role of WCSD School Police, other than our traditional law enforcement that we provide, we also have our Safe Routes to School program. We have our own dispatch services. Emergency management falls under us as well. Our victim advocate position, and as well as fingerprinting. All right, jumping right into it. So this morning we had a really fun press conference. I'd say the most fun I've ever been at a press conference for sure. And we got to welcome our newest Washoe County School District police officer, Astro, and his handler, Matt Bowers. And we have our new Astro right here. He is pretty darn cute, not gonna lie. And I also have Officer Bowers is here today as well in the audience. Say hi to Matt. So Officer Bowers is Astro's handler. They went through pretty rigorous training, and they ended up being dual certified in both Nevada and California to detect firearms. So not only is this a district resource, but this resource can also be deployed throughout our community as needed. Just like we rely on our other law enforcement partners for things that we may need on occasion, they can also lean on us for this particular resource that we have as well.
And if we could just stay on that, I think that's a really important point because we, of course, need and we value the partners that we have in law enforcement here. And K9, so is it K9 Officer Astro or K9 Astro?
Officer Astro.
Officer Astro is a unique benefit to really serve our schools and also our communities. So it's very exciting for us to be able to offer this as well.
Absolutely. We're very excited about this. And I believe we have a video now, right, JJ? All right. So this video is going to highlight Astro and kind of show you what Astro does.
I take him to work with me, he goes home with me, so I'm with him all day and I can't complain about it. It's been hard work, but it's gone great. You know, the more time we spend together, the more we learn.
So security takes many different pieces. There's, you know, mental health piece, there's a physical security piece, technology, and Astro is just another piece of that pie. I think it's going to be a very critical tool. I hope that shows the community that our commitment to protecting our students is the utmost priority.
So very frequently we're working with the regional bomb squad just because they use a lot of the gunshot odors as well that Astro is trained on. A lot of other agencies are coming to us asking advice and how this is going to work, maybe looking into getting their own firearms detection dog, and they're really looking to WCSD PD on how to do those things. So I think it's incredible. Hopefully we never actually locate a firearm with Astro, but he is prepared and trained and certified and ready to do so.
People know that he's here, and hopefully it makes the students, staff, and the community feel safer coming to school.
Okay, good. I was about to say we have to go back to Astro before we move on to Centija.
There we go. There you go.
So just a couple things. One, this is incredible work. This is absolutely a demonstration of what we can do when we set our minds to it and we bring together a great team of people, because this goes far beyond just our school police. This is our grants. Many people might think, okay, so we have Officer Astro. This was not an overnight thing, and this was not because of one situation. Although we did have a press event earlier today, the community should know this was 2 years worth of work. So we want to be abundantly clear that there's not just one incident and so then Astro appeared. This was 2 years worth of work and vision and planning. Many people made this happen, particularly one of our own clerk, Joe Rodriguez, that also had this idea and partnered very closely with our school police on it. But in the 2-year message, I want everyone to understand that safety and belonging and security is not a new priority of this board. This is something that we've been working on, and while I am thrilled that it's coming to fruition at the start of this school year, that this is really multiple years worth of effort to make this moment happen. So thank you so much. And Chief, you've been instrumental with this. You have had great patience, and we're just really grateful for your support. Could you also explain a little bit about how Officer Astro will be introduced to our schools and our students as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, let me call Matt up to the podium real quick. Is he still here? Yeah. So a lot of the, as he's walking up, so administrators will actually be able to schedule sniffs through an online program that we kind of already have set up for some other things that they can request from school police specifically. And then a lot of it will be him popping into schools, doing random sniffs and things like that. But I'll let him talk a little bit about what they do on a kind of a daily basis.
Yeah, so in the first week, I visited all the high schools, middle schools, and introduced myself, let them know about the online scheduling. Also, if there's calls for service or anything, we go through that, but also just in general being a patrol officer and handling calls and covering other officers as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The only thing I really would like to add, it was definitely a team effort that scaled well beyond just school police. I mean, Grants was instrumental in helping us get the funding for Astro. And it wasn't just the funding for Astro, and that's kind of something I kind of like to set the record straight a little bit over because we haven't had a canine in the department for a couple of years, and people kind of like, oh, the chief doesn't like dogs. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. I love dogs. I have a dog. I've always had a dog since I was a kid. But canine programs are very expensive and very time consuming to run. And it's not like buying a new patrol car or a new police motorcycle where you buy the piece of equipment and upkeep is very standard, right? Like, you know, every 5,000 miles you're going to change the oil, every 20,000 miles we're going to have to replace the tires on a patrol car. Those things are standard. You don't know when a dog's going to get sick. You don't know when a dog's going to break one of their canine teeth, and it's going to cost several $1,000s to replace that. Those are all things that were well outside of the school police budget and reasons why we were not able to replace our last canine when that canine retired. But through grants and working with grants and them helping us to craft the right language for the application and all of those types of things, we were able to secure that funding for things like veterinary care, the ongoing cost of maintenance, the toys, you know, I mean, all that stuff adds up, and that shouldn't be Matt's responsibility, you know, for him to pay for those things, right? He's got a huge time and dollar investment as it is, and we should be supplying those needs for Astro and for Matt. So we're very happy to work with grants and make that happen. And huge shout out to our communications team. Michelle and her folks have been over backwards to make these videos and the presentations and the sticker. If you guys saw the little stickers, we can't take any credit for any of that stuff. You know, her team came through with all of that. So thank you to her as well.
Thank you, Madam President. I am very happy to see this finally come to light. And I know, and just like President Smith said, I know this goes back. It just goes back to Kristen McNeil. This goes back to Angie Taylor and even Ellen Minetto. I mean, we all, you know, yeah, I had this vision, but we all were. You know, this is no one person's credit, and I'm very happy. You know, and obviously as we bring on more officers, I'll forewarn everyone. I'd love to see more dogs. So, but I think this is a great start, and I do appreciate that this is not just a school district resource. This is a regional. This is our community, because I've always said that what impacts our schools impacts our community, and vice versa. So I think this is great, and I want thank your department, and just really excited, and I'll forewarn Officer Bowers to come to.
I like that passion.
I actually did one quick question. Do we have a standing like MOU with like Washoe, Sparks, Reno, or how's the word getting out to our law enforcement partners out there?
So currently, we don't have an MOU specific to the canines. We do have general MOUs that cover response for requests for needs for assistance from the other agencies. There's actually NRS that covers that as well. But the word's getting out through the canine units. Specifically, Sergeant Baker was previously a canine handler at the department that she came from before school police, so she already had a lot of contacts, and she's the supervisor overseeing the program, and she's been working very closely with the other agencies.
Outstanding. All right, thank you.
Okay, well, as much as we hate to do it, we have to move past Astro. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Adams to take off on Centegix.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Adam Searcy for the record. We always talk in terms of layers when we talk about school safety and security. Really appreciate the discussion that we've just been having, and here representing the operations department and facilities in particular, talking about a few of the elements of the physical safety and security that we continuously invest into our schools. Starting off with discussion of Centegix. We've got a couple fun visual aids. Not as fun as the real deal, Mr. Astro, Canine Officer Astro, but these are the Centegix Crisis Alert System lanyard badges. So just as a recap, as a refresher, these are going to be issued ultimately to every single school district employee, individually assigned, for them to potentially click and activate a call for assistance of a variety of nature. So this slide's just a status update. As you recall, in March, in spring 2023, the board approved a multi-year agreement with Centegix, that's the name of the vendor, to provide this service throughout all of our school facilities. The schedule implementation on that has been impacted largely due to needs and concerns related to safety and quality. That said, the installation has been completed to date at approximately half of the district's facilities. This entails installation of devices within every space, both interior and exterior to the building, so that whether you're in a classroom, a hallway, cafeteria, or outside of the building on the grounds, if you were to activate the device, the nearest sensor would receive that response or that activation and initiate a call for assistance. That said, that's really just the first piece of it. Training, of course, is very, very important, and that is going to be initiated actually starting next week. The scheduled training has been scheduled, and next week we will see all of those sites with some pretty significant professional development training targeted at those responders primarily. So you think your administrators within the schools as well as the school front office staff. So that school secretary is going to be a key part of the response team in any type of assistance or emergency event. So, and then just to continue, the installation is going to continue on track. There will be multiple rounds of this type of large-scale training as additional sites get installed, but the entire completion is slated for January 2024, again to be followed by that onboarding and training.
And can we just stay on that? I know that there's another slide, and I think that is a really important distinction to make. There was the installation, and then there's the actual go live. And so we are on track with the installation with where we had wanted to be. And the same thing with by January 2024, that's the installation. And then it's not like all the schools would necessarily be live by January 2024. It's that some of those training sessions may still be taking place at the start of the second semester with the go lives triggered at that point, because you can't actually have the system go live until you do the training, which is the situation we're in right now. They're installed, we're doing the training, and then the systems will go live on a site-by-site basis after the training?
That's correct. I appreciate the more in-depth explanation. So the schools that have been installed, fully installed at this time, still need to have their staff trained. Then they need to actually check out and distribute all of the lanyards to the individual teachers. It's likely that many of them who will receive the training next year can actually go live or begin using the system as soon as the week of Labor Day. But so that January 2024 date range is for completion of the installation. We are going to repeatedly initiate this training as installations are completed. So there will be interim rounds, but this will be the district-wide completion of installation, followed immediately by any remaining training, and every employee in the district, every facility in the district should have this system in full use, likely by spring break at the latest.
Yeah.
So with the trainings that'll happen, some of those initial go lives could start as soon as early September. I won't hold you to an exact
Yep.
date, but early September.
Yep.
Okay.
Once they've been trained, largely the authority and ability will be in the site's hands, and of course all manner of support and customer service from the vendor and from central office. But they will be trained. They will have the tools to begin using the system as it's intended.
Thank you. Having been a substitute teacher in Washoe County, and proud to say so, I walk into Mount Rose Elementary School. It's my first day of subbing. What's going to happen with training with this system?
A couple different options that could be handled very simplistically, just at the front office. If you're a relatively novice or new substitute, perhaps to that school itself, there's not a ton of training as an end user that really needs to be detailed. You know, you wear or hold the lanyard, and if you need assistance, 3 clicks or repeated clicks to respond to that emergency. That's really all you need to know. If you're a long-term sub or someone that is familiar with that site, it could be handled in a couple of different ways. It's also noteworthy that they are portable, so they're assigned to the individual, and whether you're at Mount Rose subbing or you're at Galena High School subbing, it will actually recognize the device ID, so it'll recognize that it's checked out to a certain individual, and it will recognize your location, and it will signal that there's been a call for service or for support at whatever location you're at.
So it's possible when I sign my contract to be a sub, I might be issued my badge or the unit.
So one of the things we're looking at, so Roy Anderson, our emergency manager, and Perry, our school safety specialist, are kind of handling the training portion of it. Okay. And they've come out with a kind of a one-pager that kind of talks quick, like an overview of what the card does. Because like Adam was saying, as an end user, as a sub, you really only need to know what the card does. The back end is not really important or relevant to what you're doing with it. And there's also a little short training video that they're compiling that can be shown when the subs go through their orientation. Great. And then the idea was, rather than issue a card to every substitute teacher who may sub one day and go, yeah, this isn't for me, and now we have to get the card back and all that stuff, it was rather they would have a pool of sub cards at each site, and they would be checked out to the sub when they come into school that day. So if they're going to be there long term, they probably wouldn't check it out to them every day. They would check it out once and get it back in 2 months or whenever they're done. But if you're just checking in for the day or whatever, they would just be issued that day.
Thank you.
That's how we were looking at it.
And I appreciate that, because I try and stay out of the weeds, but it's really hard for me, as you know. One last question. Does this work with our bus drivers? Will they be issued the same device?
So it would work with any employee so long as they're within what we call the geofence. So the company is building a geofence around all of our sites. So once that bus leaves the site, the button's not going to work anymore. So like you could be a teacher that lives directly behind North Valley's High School, for example, at the football field, those homes that are right there. In their house, they can click that button all night long and nothing's going to happen until they cross that imaginary geofence, then it's active. And to what Adam was saying was, so for instance, if I'm a teacher at North Valley's High School, say I'm a dean there, and our football team is playing out at Galena, and so I'm out at Galena to help with student management, and there's a problem, and I click my button, the system's going to recognize my card and that I'm at Galena at the nearest. Basically what it does is it sends it to the nearest receiver. So it's going to know that I'm there now.
Chief Trevino, could you please speak, though, I think, to Vice President Nicolette's question, what resources are available to our bus drivers if they find themselves in an emergency? Because I think that's an important point.
Yeah, absolutely. So the great thing about our bus drivers is they all have 800 megahertz radios in their bus that they talk to their dispatch to, and then they can also contact school police directly from their radio in the bus. So they do have a direct link to dispatch if they need it.
So we've talked a little bit about how this actually works in practice. This was just an informational slide to sort of depict that if a staff member or anyone on our campus triggers a call for service, so 3 clicks will send a message that says, I need an additional set of hands. I need another adult in this space. It could be a wide range of needs. A student fell down and hurt themselves, and you really need to give your entire attention to that individual, and you still have 25 students that need attention as well. You need a hand in that space. It could be negative behavior that is brewing, that upon the presence of another adult, the situation could be diffused, but you really don't have an opportunity to disengage and go get that help. 3 clicks will send a message that says, I just need additional support in that space. We've heard from the vendor Centegix time and time again across many, many school districts that those types of incidents actually are what comprise some 80 to 90% of their calls for service. And we are really intrigued to analyze the data and look forward to better understanding, where and when and what nature those types of incidents occur. Of course, more severe incidents could trigger a higher level response, primarily an immediate message to school police dispatch, whereby a variety of responses could ensue, including a lockdown situation until we could determine exactly the status of the situation within the school. But that could be initiated by these staff members as well upon repeated clicks. That goes to school police then to respond to.
Is the data collected via the system and then you can aggregate it? Oh, wow.
Correct, yeah. The system will log all the button presses, if you will, and then we can look at it by school, by user, all those types of areas.
So wanted to continue to layer on. We think it's just important to note the continued multi-million-dollar capital renewal type of investments that we make into all of our schools. We had additional eye washes on the consent agenda tonight. I won't go through all of these items, but these are just a few of the major facility investments that we've made into our schools this last year to continue to enhance the physical safety. I'll also note that last bullet is a visitor management system that has been approved for grant funding, but a less brick and mortar type of solution, but I think a noteworthy layer that will help us all understand who is coming and going from our school facilities. Just again highlighting the diversity and the myriad of layers that go into keeping our schools safe and secure.
Before we move on, can you give a few examples of the single points of entry enhancements and the perimeter security? Like, what do those projects look like at this point after all the work we've done before?
Always looking for continuous improvements. We work with school leaders and campus monitors to identify areas that aren't as secure as they could be, particularly around the school perimeters, patterns of ingress egress change, and we've had to basically modify fence lines, either because somebody's gaining access where they shouldn't have, or that in fact we put the fence at a less ideal location. So we made a few of those modifications. Single points of entry have been more substantial sort of modernizations, really, where we're creating more a less open pass-through, creating greater security for the school staff through a variety of improvements that mirror or are modeled after our newest schools. So those have been taking place at a handful of our elementary schools primarily over the summer, while still maintaining that welcoming vestibule where they can come in and do business with the school or do whatever they're there to do, not present any sort of risk to the school staff or gain access into the school until approved to do so. That's kind of a wrap on the physical safety and security measures, and I'll step aside and let the rest of the team walk you through a couple additional layers.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. There you go. Thank you, Adam. All right, so the next I'm going to bring up Detective Diamond to talk about the heat unit. So, we've talked about sex trafficking in our community for several years, and we've seen obviously the numbers rise, and we've known for a while that obviously our students are going to be impacted by that. And we've had limited staffing in school police. Very thankful for the new allocations we have. We're working hard to try and get people into those positions. But last year, I've been invited to attend a couple of meetings with the heat unit and some of their to try and figure out if we could work something out. So we kind of hemmed and hawed and kind of tried to figure out how we could do it with the staffing that we had. We came up with a model that kind of split Detective Diamond's time from our traditional detective unit. We have 2 detectives in the detective unit. Kind of split his time between our detective unit and assigned him to the heat unit. Kind of quickly, once he got in there, figured out he needed to spend more time in there. We're really looking at moving forward with a model that would have him being there full time and not having to come assist here at all. But obviously, we need to get those other positions filled before we can move to that type of a model. But we've seen immediate impacts by having Detective Diamond in the unit, and I'm going to turn it over to him at this time to kind of give you the rundown as to what the unit is, what they do, and the impacts we've seen with our students.
Thanks very much, Chief. Detective Diamond for the record with the Washoe County School District Police Department. As the Chief said, we were invited to kind of consult with the heat unit last year, and that was more of in a capacity of trying to understand what it was that the school district might have to offer, or if we had a specific interest in that unit. For the past 7 months, I've been assigned to that unit as a part-time detective. Specifically what the heat unit does, it's a regional unit that was created in 2020. And they investigate crimes related to human and sex trafficking and child exploitation. Presently, we're comprised of 6 full-time detectives from the Reno Police Department, the Sparks Police Department, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and 2 part-time detectives, one from the University of Nevada, Reno Police Services, and then here from School Police. Their specific mission is to ensure the safety of human trafficking victims, actively pursue arrests and imprison those who prey upon them, specifically vulnerable populations and juveniles, even more specifically. It's a collaborative effort, obviously, within the community and victim services units, and we help to provide as many resources as possible to the victims and help them successfully gain their independence from their traffickers, and specifically on the juvenile end, to return them into an educational environment if and where appropriate. In 2020, just to kind of give some generalized numbers on some things here and kind of bring some reality to it, the heat unit recovered in 2020 approximately 130 victims of sex trafficking here in this region, with 41 of those recoveries being juveniles. So out of the 130 contacts that we had, 41 of them were juveniles, and approximately 35 of them were local juveniles, living within specifically the Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County area. So there are juveniles that are actually being trafficked into our region, as well as our juveniles within our own region becoming victimized. Specifically, a recovery of a juvenile or of a victim is a physical intervention in the trafficking process, and that's where officers and detectives on targeted operations will go out and physically intervene and break the victim from their trafficker. And provide resources to the victims and break that trafficking process and cycle. We have a full-time advocate that's embedded within the unit. She's wonderful. She'll go out on the operations with us. She throws on a vest and is there to actually interact with our victims on scene while we're actually handling other concerns with the traffickers. And she's there and able to immediately provide the victim with whatever he or she may need. In both the short term and the long term, which is really fantastic, because so many times the victim services are provided initially but not followed through, and we've noticed that obviously with our juvenile population that is a long-term process and not just from the time of break to just go ahead and turn off any kind of service or anything like that. So the heat unit is very new. It's kind of groundbreaking in my estimation. And it's been an absolute pleasure, and I couldn't thank the chief and the district as a whole for offering our participation in that. Respectfully, even it's a great symbiotic relationship in that we have a lot to offer the heat team, as well as the heat team having resources that we just don't have on a normal basis within school district PD that are offered to us to assist in our not only heat mission, but then also some ancillary things on the side on some of our other day-to-day investigations as well. And that's just kind of the 10,000-foot view. I don't want to bore you with all the details. We've been working to integrate and provide information as much as possible to our district leadership. I had the pleasure of speaking and presenting to Dr. Troy Parks and a number of the associate chiefs for signs and symptoms and resources that the team offers. We've also been approaching the Human Resources Department and a few other locations to try and reach out to as many district officials as we possibly can, as you know, that the district sees appropriate to allow us with the principals, vice principals, and deans, and that way it's just more eyes on to help us locate potential victims.
Question, and an uncomfortable one. I've heard that this is a rising issue. I mean, the need for the unit, although it's a new unit, was born out of need. Is this an issue that is expanding in our community? Or do you feel the presence of the heat unit is beginning to mitigate that?
On the whole, there are some increasing numbers, and some of those are a simple. Some of those can be explained away by the fact that the team has grown over time. So the inception of the team was 2020. There were only 4 detectives at that time. Now to 2023, we're up to 8 detectives, 2 of them part-time, and the numbers of contacts and arrests has increased. So with the increase of the number of detectives, obviously there's an increase in contacts and arrests. But overall, too, I would probably say that we're still trying to understand the full scope of the issue or problem, and I would probably describe it personally as relatively pervasive.
Yeah, yes, thank you. This is going to be like an applause for you. The Clower Family Foundation, they held an event this last spring, and I had the pleasure of attending. And their goal is human trafficking and identifying the needs, the issues, the solutions, and bringing communities around the Western United States together. And it was really cool to see Detective Eric Diamond's photo in one of the PowerPoints, along with congratulating Chief Jason Trevino for participating, Washoe County School District, in this endeavor, because they gave us some startling statistics. And I sat there in sadness and worry, and then in, I guess, appreciation of the fact that Washoe County School District is a part of this endeavor. And one of the things I learned, it takes a community, because this is, as you said, a pervasive problem, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what that means and how to identify solutions. And so thank you for your involvement.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words there, and it is absolutely my pleasure. I think it's a very progressive and positive step that the Washoe County School District Police Department and the school district itself in stepping forward and participating in something like this, I think is very progressive and very new. I'd also like to add, too, that I was able to attend a regional training in California recently, and it was a human sex trafficking summit, pretty much. What I'm happy to report is that the HEAT team itself, the Reno HEAT team, was sought after for some of the most progressive and probably well put together or crafted operations in the region. And so there have been a number of regional teams throughout the western United States who are seeking Reno HEAT's operations and structures and practices. And so not only from the school district side of participating in this team, but the team itself being regionally very good, renowned, if you would.
Thank you, Detective Diamond. I'll echo Vice President Nicolette's thanks to you both for being a part of this important work. Having spent the last many years living outside the Seattle area, I am all too aware of this problem. We have this problem outside Seattle significantly. We are fortunate here in this region to not only have the HEAT team, but to have Awaken as well. And so an incredible organization that does incredible work in this space. And so I met with them late spring, early summer, and committed that we would, I mean, they have been working with our schools, but it's been by invitation. And I don't think this is something we can leave to chance or invitation. This is information that we need to get to our students and families in a very proactive way. So Emma Garrett Nelson is leading the work to make sure that they are proactively scheduled, starting with all of our middle schools, so that every student in our middle schools gets this information.
And I appreciate that, Dr. Enfield, because it's really important that we remove the stigma around this. Obviously, this is completely deplorable behavior, but this affects our community across the board. We need to completely eliminate the idea that only certain parts of our community is really affected by this. We see this across Washoe County, and that's our responsibility to really rise up and increase the education of the students, make sure that they understand what grooming behavior looks like, and then meet it not just on the education side, but the family side, and then also with the protection that Officer Diamond is offering through the HEAT unit as well. But that's really what I wanted to say, is that this is not one part of our community. This is a matter for our entire community to really get behind, and it really affects all of our schools and all of our children. Clerk Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just kind of want to, I think this is sad. Obviously, this is happening with our community, but I think it's outstanding that we, the district, and that school police is actively combating this. And I, you know, as Chief Trevino and Detective Diamond were saying, I totally support the idea of having a dedicated school detective to this team full time. It sounds like it's much needed. But I'm glad to hear I'm glad to hear the success and the rest. And as you said, break, the victim away from, the trafficker, and and it's just, it's unfortunate, but I appreciate that we are combating this as a district. So.
And just one more thing, when we do find that there's a child, whether it be a student or not a student, we do provide that support, because it may or may not be appropriate for that child to go back to their home environment as well. So do we have a mechanism in place with our community partners to provide the support that that child needs for their path outside of trafficking, in the event that that is also not with their family of origin?
Yes, definitely. As I said, the HEAT unit itself already has a collaborative relationship with several community organizations, including the Washoe County Health Services Department, as well as CPS, or Child Protective Services. We do work with Awaken and a number of other victim organizations, as well as any other police agency. We're all comprised of the regional policing agencies, so even working with the Children's Cabinet and those kinds of things is all already kind of pre-established. I would like to share with you that we did have a recent interaction with a juvenile victim who was exposed to some pretty horrendous traumas. We were able to intervene in that trafficking process. We're in the process of prosecuting the offender, and I was just so pleased to know that too, when we checked in on this victim, that they had returned to school this fall, and that's something relatively new. Again, with being new to the HEAT unit, and having worked over the summer for the first time, that we're not sure exactly. We're just kind of understanding the full scope of what was going on. But having checked up on that victim and seeing that young person actually re-enroll and return to school, and see that everything looked tracking better was fantastic. So, and that's not the end of that story either. We're absolutely more than prepared to continue on and make sure that that person remains in school and tracking positively.
Thank you so much. Trustee Woodley.
Thank you, Madam President. I think this is very important, and it's very good that you're involved with this unit. Detective. I had experiences going out with them as well, and I never actually thought about it because we were dealing with businesses and other such circumstances to think that, wow, we probably should work this with the school district. So that's a great idea that you guys are doing it. Detective Diamond, could you, just for everyone's sake, to understand what HEAT stands for, could you share what the acronym means?
Sure. So I apologize, right? HEAT stands for Human Exploitation and Trafficking. And specifically, it's what we work in is the commercial sex trade, is what we're combating.
Well, thank you so much, Detective Diamond. This was amazing to hear from you, and we're incredibly lucky and grateful for the work that you're doing, all the members of the HEAT unit, and then by extension our entire school police, because we know that we need all the eyes and ears that we can. So thank you. This was just incredible work, and we're grateful for it.
Yes, ma'am. It's my pleasure, honestly. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, so we just heard about the HEAT unit. I'm going to go to the next slide here. It's going to talk about some of the other collaborative efforts we have with our local law enforcement, obviously HEAT being our newest one, but we have a lot of other long-standing collaborations as well. So in addition, we also have our Joining Forces, which is traffic-based. So it's a grant funded through the state and through the Department of Transportation, where we get grant funding that pays for overtime to run traffic operations, and we do that in conjunction with our other local entities as well. And we work with them to do like school zone traffic enforcement, and we help them to target areas we need assistance in. We have the Regional Gang Unit, which has been long-standing. We've been members of that for before I came to the department. We also have monthly regional law enforcement leadership meetings. We meet, Sparks PD hosts them, gracious to them to host every month, and then all of the local law enforcement leadership from our local agencies, the FBI, tribal, our federal partners, the FBI, DEA, pretty much any agency that's represented in this region sends a representative to these meetings where we can all kind of touch base with what's going on, what our needs are, what our concerns may be, what resources we might need, things like that. So we do that monthly to keep in touch with everyone. In addition to that, we also, Superintendent Enfield started when she came on board, quarterly law enforcement leadership meetings with the superintendent. So every quarter, and obviously we can convene a meeting at any time if it's needed, but they're scheduled quarterly just to bring in the other chiefs and the sheriff, including our tribal chiefs, to come in and just kind of have a sit down with the superintendent, myself, and Deputy Chief Price, and just see what's working, see what areas of concerns they have, see what areas of concerns we have with, maybe things that we're seeing that our students are being impacted in the community that, we're not able to put hands on because it's outside of our jurisdiction that we'd like, some additional assistance with, or just to kind of see, if we need to collaborate on other issues. Superintendent?
Yeah, thank you, Chief Trevino. I just want to say those meetings, sometimes there's not a lot to talk about, which is great. That's what we like to have. And sometimes there are. And I will point to one of maybe our first meeting last year. It was very clear that we were having some issues at one of our high schools that needed to be addressed. And hearing directly from our law enforcement leaders, if we don't do something differently, something bad's going to happen here. That is something that I think is really important for me as the superintendent to hear. And thanks to the chief and our police department and other staff, we were able to pull together the right team of people to address the issues that we were having in the school, and nothing bad happened. So I'm just grateful to our law enforcement partners for giving their time and their expertise so that we can work collaboratively, because as the chief says, our best strategy is prevention. And so we want to prevent as much as we can. So
thank you, Superintendent. All right. Anyone have any questions on those? Okay. We touched on a lot of this stuff a couple months ago. So, all right. So we talk a lot about physical security and physical safety in my world, and that's kind of what we really focus on, if you will. But a lot of this really comes down to things that aren't even happening inside our school buildings, right? And one of the messages I've really tried to get out over the last few years is parent involvement, or anybody who has a child living with them, whether there's a grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, caretaker, anybody who's a custodian of a child really needs to be actively engaged with that child and what their school experience is looking like. And that's where we're going to find problems before they start, right, as we get that involvement there. So we've kind of worked around, and working with Emma had come up with this. And this is for any parent or family member or guardian. Ask your child questions about their day and their friends. Know who your kid's hanging out with, right? That's important. Ask them how their day was, and don't just settle for it was fine. Make them tell you something meaningful, right? Even if it's about something that happened in one class, at least you're getting them to tune in and engage with you. I'm a parent of 2 children, and I've been there before, and you hear fine about 4 million times over their lifetime, but you need to dig a little bit deeper and invest the time in your child to see what's really going on. Ask those questions. The more comfortable your child is with knowing that you care, the more comfortable they're going to be opening up to you. C, check your child's bag before they leave for school. If your kid doesn't want to show you what's in their backpack, that's a problem. And it's not a privacy issue. You're not invading your student's privacy, your child's privacy. You have a responsibility as a parent to make sure that your child is going to school and they're not taking things to school they shouldn't have. And that could be anything from, video game systems that they're not supposed to be taken to school. Obviously, we're concerned about weapons, drugs, alcohol, those types of things. But really just lets the student know that, hey, my parent or my guardian is checking what's going on, and I need to make sure that I'm not taking things to school I shouldn't. And then T, as you can see, this is an acronym for ACT. Talk to your child's school if you notice changes in their behavior. Because if you're noticing something at home, it's really important to check in with the school and see if the school's noticing it, or to make the school aware, hey, at the beginning of the year, my student was coming home and they were really happy every day, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing this real shift and they're kind of feeling depressed or don't want to talk about school, they're avoiding conversations about it, or I've noticed that their friend group has changed rather quickly, or over the last couple of months their friend group has changed. I'm not really sure what's going on. Have those conversations with the adults in the school to make sure that you're operating as a team, because this is a team effort. The school can't do it alone, and parents can't do it alone, right? When they're at school, the parent's not there observing. When they're at home, the teacher's not there observing. But together, the parent and the teacher observe that student for the majority of the hours out of the day, right? So when you collaborate together, we can really make a difference in what's going on and detect those problems early before they become big problems. One of the things we've seen time and time again when we step back and we dissect these major incidents that happen across the country, there's tons and tons and tons of pre-contact indicators, pre-violence indicators that were there, and a lot of the times it was just the teacher may have this piece of the puzzle, the parent had this piece of the puzzle, a grandpa had this piece of the puzzle, but nobody was putting those pieces together, even though the pieces were all readily available. So what we really want here to do with this act is for you to actively engage in your child's education, actively engage in their safety. We need that to start at home. Okay, and with that, continuing that theme, one of the things we talk about, and I see it all the time, is those relationships. Relationships are instrumental in building a safe school environment. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Superintendent Infield to take a look at what that looks like at one of our elementary schools.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Trevino. So, we talk a lot about, for everything that our officers are recognized for publicly doing, there's just so much more that never occurs because of the hard work that they do. And, talking about, whenever we talk about safety and belonging, obviously behavior and discipline are part of that. But when we talk about discipline, fundamentally that comes down to relationships. And how are the adults in the school intentionally ensuring that there are no invisible children? And that means building relationships with every child in that school. And at my recent visit to Silver Lake Elementary, because I think it's really important to highlight the good things that our schools are doing in very specific ways. And so Principal CEO and Dean Nessler, as you can see, they were on their desks on wheels, which I thought was genius, to be getting around the school that first week and being as accessible as possible. But the other thing they did with their fifth graders is they put photos of all of their fifth graders up in a room, and they had staff members sign their name next to each child's face that they knew. And they came away with 2 kids who had no signatures next to their face. Well, now they know that they have to come up with a plan for those 2 students to build a connection with an adult in that school. We can't leave these things to chance. And that doesn't take technology. It doesn't even take a lot of money. It takes some time and some commitment and some follow through on the part of the staff. And I just want to applaud our staff at Silver Lake. And by the way, there are staff in our schools across the district who are doing that and similar things. But those things matter. When a child has a trusted adult at school that they can go to, if they're feeling unsafe, more importantly, if the adults know their students well enough to say, Joe's not acting right, there's something going on there, And no, of course, you would never act not right, Joe. But really, I mean, I think that is incredibly, incredibly important. They've also started what they are calling a soft start in the morning, where they're, instead of the students just sort of waiting outside and playing, they're inviting them into the classroom, and the teachers are doing some sort of warm-up and teaming activities, so the kids are calm, they're focused, they're connected before academics start for the day. It's brilliant and been very, very well received. So there's so much that our staff do each and every day to go above and beyond to ensure that every child is known by name, strength, and need, but make no mistake that work is directly correlated to safety and security in our schools. And I want to applaud our staff for doing that, and of course, our police department for doing the extraordinary work that they do. Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely. All right, thank you, Superintendent. And with that, that ends our presentation, and I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Go for it,
Trustee
Church. Yeah, lead us off.
All right, thank you. Yes, Chief Trevino, you mentioned earlier that you had briefed us on events a few months ago. And seriously, civilian oversight of our law enforcement, we're one of the few school districts that has in-house armed police officers, full sworn police officers. So I think I do, and I think my fellow trustees take that very seriously, our oversight function. You had mentioned at the previous briefing, and I like to see these every month personally, but you had mentioned 120-day stats on violence and issues in the schools. I sent that to you recently. Do you have any update on that? Do we have year-end stats, or might I get that?
No, I do not.
Can I get it? Is it public? I mean, I'm a trustee. May I get that?
We can take line because we make our request to the superintendent, but that's something that we can discuss.
Well, are we going to get briefed on it? You know, he talked about it a few months ago. I'm not trying to be difficult. It's our responsibility as a board.
Chief Trevino, I just want to clarify, just so we all kind of understand. The last few months, it's been summer break, and we've only had 1 week of school. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'm talking about the stats for the year that ended, you know, last few months ago.
Okay, thank you. What would be your next question after that? That way we can make sure that you get to go first.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Just I do appreciate the information, and I do take my role very seriously for civilian oversight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank Mr. Searcy and Chief for this presentation. I really do hope that this does show our community that we take, obviously, you know, our students, schools, and staff safety, you know, it's our top priority. And just want to thank you guys and, you know, Superintendent Infield for carrying this out.
Oh, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Chief, for being here. You know, a couple of questions. I think one will be directed to Mr. Searcy. Comment first, though, is, you know, a parent with 2 daughters in our high schools, and I've said this before, and you know, our primary mission here in an education organization is to educate our kids, but just as high as ensuring that they're safe and secure, because if they're not safe, they can't learn. And in this really unsettling times that we live in, you know, I appreciate Astro and all the wonderful things that we're doing, but you know, as a parent, it's always on my mind. You know, is this today? And so I'm just grateful that we continue to talk about this, that we continue to raise awareness of the work that we're doing in this district, because it's vitally important. As much as I hear about academics and curriculum from moms and dads, I hear about security just as much. And so on that point, President Smith inquired about single point entry earlier. I kind of want to flush that out a little bit, because we get something that I brought up, Trustee Rodriguez has brought up. There are still high schools that don't have the single point entry piece. I know we've talked about doing something, maybe limiting some access through technology, something. I didn't really get the answer that I was hoping to get when the question was posed. Are we moving in some direction, particularly at the high school level? Because I know most of our elementary schools and our middle schools have it. Most of our high schools still are very accessible. Anybody can walk in at any time. So that's the question I have. The second piece is I really love the ACT piece that you brought up, Chief. The idea that parents and families have to be partners in school safety as well. I think that's forgotten. The public at large, I think, forgets that government can't be all things to all people, and moms and dads have to play a role. They truly do. So it's just something that a campaign that we will embark on in some form. Have we thought about that? Have we thought about communicating that, messaging that in some form? So those are the two questions I'm hoping that we could flush out just a little bit more. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump to question number 2, and then we'll bring Adam up. So the ACT is brand spanking new. It just rolled out. Literally, we just kind of came up with that last week, and I said full credit to Emma. She worked on that, and we would be happy to work with communications. And we kind of talked about bundling that in. And I know Trustee Nicolette was around back then, but the video we made on reporting and social media when it comes specifically to adults, and for adults to not spread screenshots and things like that, and to follow the proper reporting channels, we were kind of thinking about trying to tie both of these into a campaign through our communications department to put the word out. Hey, as a parent or as a guardian, these are some things that we kind of need from you, which is this ACT, as well as when you do come across some of this social media information, act on that properly as well. So we were kind of looking at maybe bundling that.
Yeah, just don't lose sight of that. I love that, and I think that moms and dads need to be gently reminded on the role that they can play.
Sure.
You brought up some great safety tips.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And my question is not intended to be a criticism at all, by the way, Mr. Searcy. Just a question. Thank you.
Of course. Adam Searcy for the record. Pleased to report, we have heard and had this conversation multiple times, and each and every time we've taken that feedback very seriously. I don't think it is of any surprise to anyone to understand the complexity and kind of the operational differences between an elementary school and a high school. That said, we've begun design and conversations with all of the partners that will ultimately need to operate such an environment, whether it's school police officer, school administrators, and even the school community, as well as designing it. We're actively working on several prototype designs that we hope to bring to the board in the coming months. But at this point, it's really what I'm trying to say is we're trying to lay the foundation for success for this while hearing you, but acknowledging that just throwing up some fences isn't going to result in successful utilization. It's only as good as to the degree that it's actually used effectively. So we're working on that, and we hope to bring you something to look at and potentially act on soon.
Okay, great. I just wanted to keep the conversation going, so thank you so much.
No, and it's an important conversation to keep going, and particularly I appreciate you bringing up the social media responsibility of this, because we all remember that really traumatizing incident last year, which was really born out of a situation in Florida, found its way across the country and created genuinely widespread panic here in Washoe County. Mm-hmm. And really it originated in Florida. So there was a huge degree of fear and anxiety and frustration directed towards our own school district. And the reality is although I do believe that we acted well in that situation, when we have matters that are happening across the country that are then spreading across the country because people are adapting those messages to make them locally directed, that's really a symptom of how our society is behaving around these threats. And really, that's something we need help with moms and dads and community members with, because that is not just something that we can manage here as our own school district, or any school district can manage on their own. So I appreciate you bringing attention to that. Dr. Nicolette.
Thank you. I just want to share a thought that I have when I regularly do my ride-alongs with the police, and I learn so much and I watch so much. And I know that in your bullet list, one of the responsibilities that the police department takes seriously is relationship building. That's huge. When I think about the relationship building, and I think about the statistics that my colleague is asking for, and I understand that, I also think about how we cannot prove or show what's not happening because of all that's going on. And to me, that is extremely important. Stuff's going to happen. Kiddos do stuff. They just do. But there's so much that is not happening moment to moment because of everything that our police department, our administrators, our teachers, our bus drivers are doing together to keep our kids safe. And I think that's an important point.
Well said. Well, thank you so much, Chief. This was incredible. Mr. Searcy, this was wonderful. And Detective Diamond, we appreciate hearing from all of you. And this work is vital to us. There is a reason why, with our strategic plan, that we have the beam for safety and security and belonging. And that was very much by design, because you can't have anything within that unless you have those items. So thank you so much for this update.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
All right, that closes item 3.03. And now we'll move on to item 3.04. This is a video presentation with voices from students, staff, and families from various schools throughout the Washoe County School District on their experiences from the first day of school. This is an item for presentation only, and we welcome our Chief Communications and Community Engagement Officer, Michelle Anderson.
Thank you so much. I think I speak for all of us as this has been an exciting 2 weeks. We still are welcoming some of our littles next week. And so we tried to capture, instead of having kids, leave school early or try to come here, to make it convenient and get some voices of not only our students, but our staff members and our families from across the district. Of course, this doesn't encapsulate all of our schools, but just a little highlight.
How did the first day of school go for you and your family?
It went great for us. They did the back to school Thursday, or the meet the teachers, so they knew where to go. So first day started out well.
It's gone well. Kids are excited. I think staff is excited. I'm excited, so it's great.
The friends here is really cool. Really just meeting the teacher, meeting new people, making friends.
Really good.
Really good? Why was it really good?
Because yesterday in class we made our own puzzles.
It's going amazing. We absolutely love our school. The staff is great. The teachers are all awesome. It's a welcoming environment. It's great for all families.
The best thing of being back to school is probably playing football and sports and stuff. All the artwork we do, having new friends and learning new things.
It's fun being back with all my friends.
And I like seeing kids that have never met before or have been mean to each other for the past years become friends.
I actually think that our kids are in really, really good moods, and I think that they're excited to see each other. They're excited to see their new teachers.
So a lot of the kids are coming in high energy, which is fantastic. Teachers are all super happy. It's a really good start to the first week of school, yeah.
It was good. It was just kind of hard to find the classes and stuff. I don't know, I get kind of bored. I like the second week.
Okay.
That's when it starts to get fun.
Our sixth graders, and they're just so cute because they're overwhelmed and nervous, and they come in, and by Thursday they're like, I got this, don't worry about me. I love that part.
They're the sweetest group of kids. Interactive, they're talking, they're friendly, they're nice to each other. It's just a breath of fresh air. I feel very lucky.
The vibe and the energy is awesome, and this is honestly one of the best years that I've started. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, 100%. I feel like everybody's focused. I mean, I know as a sports program, we're like determined, locking in, getting to class on time, pushing in the weight room, academically, all that. So energy is great.
School shouldn't be a place to where students like dread going. So I want to just make it feel like students have a happy place here.
First day, I was real nervous. I didn't know if my voice would carry throughout the day or if it was going to get, a sore throat or if the kids were going to listen to me. But I think I established a connection with them pretty early on.
I love it. I think it's been great. Like, our number of no-shows are down.
It's not been too bad. It's pretty crowded this year with all the new freshmen. They're incoming. It's been pretty nice, though. Pretty easy. I feel like it's going to be a good year.
I love that I know what I'm doing this year, and that I can enjoy all of it. It's great.
It was a little bit hectic the first day, but we got off to a good start. I'm a sophomore, so I've made a lot of friends last year that I get to see again this year, and it's nice.
They seem like they love being at school, so I'm hoping it holds and we'll have a great year this year with our seniors. And I'd just like to give a special shout out to Jeff Foss, our amazing videographer, and Chad Hartley, who went around and helped capture that for our team.
Well done. That was absolutely wonderful. And I would like you to know, Michelle, I really appreciated you having the captioning on the bottom. I think that it makes the videos a lot more accessible to a lot of people. So a detail that did go noticed. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are all so happy. And I particularly like that one student who was like, get me to week 2. That's love that. All right. Great job, Jeff and Chad and Michelle and team. So thank you so much. All right. So that closes item 3.04 and brings us to section 4. Our student representative was not able to join us, so we'll go ahead and move past that item and go to 4.02. These are our board reports. And Trustee Church, why don't you be our lead-off hitter, since I know you like baseball analogies.
Let me unmute. Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief. Yes, I was down in San Diego watching my Padres lose more than they've won. Then with the storm, I diverted to Southern Nevada, where I'm at now. So sorry I couldn't be there. Trustee Woodley, don't get too comfortable in that seat. I will be back. So the only thing I really want to cover is that I'm having a town hall finally. And it's going to be at the brand new J. Wood Raw Elementary School, September 13th at 6 p.m. We'll have food, no dancing elephants or anything, but there will be food, and it will be, of course, 100% non-political as I report on my duties and responsibilities as a trustee and get public input from the community. And I emphasize that because it's the entire community. You don't have to have kids in school. You don't have to go to J. Wood Raw. All my constituents, taxpayers, citizens, students, did I mention free food? I know kids always love that. And yeah, September 13th, Wednesday, 6 p.m. at our new elementary J. Wood Raw school off Rio Wrangler. Hope to see lots of people there. We are asking for a RSVP just so we know how many hot dogs, pizzas, whatever they have. But you don't have to. You can just show up, and it's going to be a great event. And I think that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Trustee Church. All right. Trustee Mayberry.
Thank you. Yeah, very briefly, I have not had the opportunity to tour any schools yet. I want to give folks some time to settle in. I think that'll happen as early as later this week, but I appreciate having the opportunity to attend the All-Star kickoff. It was just really inspiring to see the entire district under one roof. Also had an exciting opportunity to participate in the J. Wood Raw Elementary ribbon cutting. And the Back to School Expo as well was really exciting and very productive with respect to the vaccines that were offered. And I was also part of the first day of school on last Monday, and then kindergarten just a few days ago at Brown Elementary. And I appreciate the PTO at Brown Elementary for putting on some festivities there for our little ones. And also, I just want to conclude with a quick illustration I sent to JJ. Erica, I don't know if you know Erica Kofelt. She is a speech pathologist. I'm sure some of you are aware of this. I know it's been on the district's social media platforms. I feel comfortable saying that I know her well. She's actually provided services to one of my children. She is a warm, amazing person. She is a social influencer. She has thousands of followers on her Instagram account and TikTok. And in the Mayberry household, we're huge fans of, don't tell anybody, of America's Got Talent, AGT. And so we'll be tuning in on the 29th. If you're familiar with AGT, it's kind of this national talent show. And she made the first cut, and so she'll be performing live next week, next Tuesday. And also want to publicly nominate her for a Ducky Award. I'll let the superintendent decide what to do with that. But,
just send me an email with why she's deserving.
Oh, okay. I'll be happy to do that. And so I'm really excited to see her, and just wanted our families to tune in and join us in celebrating her accomplishments. She's a dancer. She has these funky dances that she does, and she's sort of and I can't dance, by the way, but she sort of dramatizes the drama and the chaotic challenges of getting kids ready to go to school and on vacation. So it's a lot of fun of what she does. She's a really fun person. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you all so very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Trustee Mayberry. Trustee Woodley.
Surprise. Thank you, Madam President. I'm ready to go. So, prior to school starting, I was able to meet up with one of our math teachers. This is Jose Piceno. He is a Sparks math school teacher, and I actually first met him at UNR, and he's a dreamer. He's also a graduate from Dean's Future Scholars. So it's good to see that our teachers are not just teaching, but they're out there in the community doing other things. Because I saw him at an alumni event, Latino alumni event for UNR, but this particular event was a 4-year-old's birthday for Councilmember Miguel Martinez's daughter. So I was excited to see him. So I have another one. This, of course, was at our going back to school rally with our superintendent. I was able to get a photo with one of our police officers, Officer Brown. We were out there greeting all the teachers as they were coming, and we had a full crew out there from our police department. So we really appreciate them out there supporting us and protecting us. Thank you. And I didn't have much for the month of August. It's a pretty busy month back at work, but I intend to start actually this Friday. I'm going to be at McQueen. Starting at 3 o'clock for the freshmen, the JV, and the varsity football games. So I will be seeing all three of them. I'll be supporting Coach Rodriguez, who's a McQueen graduate, and he's now a coach for the freshmen and JV as well. So good luck to the Lancers this weekend. Then Saturday, I'll be attending the NAACP Freedom Fund banquet. And on Sunday, we're having a Washoe County School District supply drive at Terminal Way. That'll be on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I'll be visiting Reed High School to watch the girls' soccer team. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, so next up is going to be Vice President Nicolette, in case anybody can't check my pattern.
Yeah, we got it now, and I will not be brief. So I attended the all-staff event at the Livestock Event Center. It was an event that was filled with Washoe County School District champions all in one place. I attended the J. Wood Raw ribbon cutting and the hustle bustle of the first day of school. The summer graduation, which was just really special. Seeing the different gowns from the different schools was really cool. I attended the Back to School Expo at the Washoe County Health Complex. Lots of resource tables and cool giveaways. I joined President Beth Smith and Superintendent Enfield as they shared kind memories and thanks to Mike Kazmierski at his farewell celebration. Attended the Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful event. I sat with my former president, Dr. John Galtney, and former CFO, Steve Salaber. There was also IT guru and pilot, one of my favorite people, Bill Marble, and several Washoe County School District teachers. Attended the Art of the Childhood sponsored by the Children's Cabinet, which is a joy because I'm a former Children's Cabinet employee and proud to say such. Visited Incline Village Middle School, High School, and Elementary School in that order. And I'm going to continue with where I left off last time, and I went over, and I apologize for that, the vaping challenge that we have in our schools and in our community. And I had the pleasure of talking with Dr. Jose Calderon. He is a renowned pediatrician and nationally known for his work in vaping, nicotine, and teenagers, youth in general. And I'm going to continue to learn from him so that I can really champion what already exists through the American Heart Association, tobacco-free school districts. So I'm going to be championing that slowly and surely to help others become aware and help me with the cause, because we really do have a challenge and we need to work on that. So publicly, I'd like to thank Dr. Jose Calderon for helping me, educating me, and I will continue to learn from him. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. 23 seconds to go. All right, Trustee Westlake.
Thank you, President Smith. I just want to say I'm so excited for school to be starting, to get back into doing all of these wonderful events and going into the schools and visits. So I'm just really, really happy that it's starting back up. Did do a few things which I enjoyed every single one of them. I did get to go with Superintendent Enfield and some of the other trustees on the first day of school to visit a few schools. Very exciting to see the kids back in the buildings, and I just enjoy especially the little ones going into their classrooms. I did attend Mike Kazmierski's celebration of his retirement. Amazing things that he has done for this community and for our families and students. I had a meeting with, I call him Coach Rollins or Coach Stallworth. He's the chief of athletics, and got to get into a discussion about sixth grade athletics. I enjoyed learning more about the programs we have for our sixth graders. I attended the Children's Cabinet Gala fundraiser. Again, the things that these groups are doing for our families, for our children, for our community, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. The ribbon cutting at J. Wood Robb, beautiful, beautiful school. And I attended the all-staff kickoff at the Livestock Event Center, and we have just amazing, amazing educators in the district, and I appreciate every single one of them, every single one of our administrators, and every single individual that helps run this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, you are winning. You're winning this competition. Clerk Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. So yeah, first week of school, I did get to visit O'Brien Middle School, so that was nice. My first school to kick off the school year. I did also attend the Community Health Alliance fundraiser event, which I recognized a couple of faces that were there, so that's really nice. I did get to see and meet Astro before I think a lot of you guys did, so sorry, not sorry. So I got to see him do a demo, and it was pretty awesome. It was really just fruits of work. It was really nice to see that. I do want to give a shout out to local gym owner. Her name is Randy Welch. She actually took it upon herself to raise quite a bit of supplies for our schools and students in need. I think it was about like 55 like backpacks, and then that's like supplies in the bags, and then just more stuff on top of that. So I did. She is Alice Sparks. I did rope in a council member and the city attorney, Wes Duncan, and we're like, hey, let's like celebrate her, recognize her, and dropped off some supplies at some schools. So it was really nice just to see our community. Like I always say, it takes a village. So I thought it was really cool that she did that, and just wanted to give her, recognize that. So. And that's pretty much it. Beginning of school year, I look forward to visiting more schools and police ride-alongs and, just kicking butt.
Thank you. Is Joe winning now? Maybe. All right. Okay, so it's me. I'm going to give it 1 sec because JJ's going to queue up some stuff here. So I'm going to just start with a thank you. So back to school is not just kids walking through the door. It's bus drivers. It's facilities and maintenance workers. It's our nutrition services workers and staff members making tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of meals every day, every week, every month. And so there's a lot that goes into flicking on those lights and smiles as the kids walk through the door. So congratulations to the district, to Dr. Enfield. This was a remarkably great week. The picture that we have up here is from some of my trustee colleagues on that very first day of school. I visited Jaywood Raw Elementary, DePoli Middle School, the Piccolo School, and Kate Smith Elementary, also known as the kindest school in the world. Missing from this photo, but part of our day was also trustee calling Westlake as well, too. I was really pleased to join the all-staff kickoff at the Reno Livestock Events Center. That was just such a really great event. It was the first time, great things that we learned from it, but the energy was palpable, and I think that's important to get everyone together. I also spoke at the ribbon cutting for Jaywood Raw Elementary, a proud school. I'm going to touch on WC1 here in a moment, but the newest jewel in our crown here at WCSD. And I also attended and participated in the August Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Governing Board meeting, which is a government agency that I serve on at the pleasure of our board. I also attended the Back to School Expo at the county complex and wanted to give a special thanks to the health department and the Salvation Army. They provided hundreds of backpacks to our students, thousands of needed vaccines, and lots of information. So thank you to all of those staff members who took time on their weekend in order to work that expo. The next photo is I was honored to speak at the retirement reception for Mike Kazmierski. He was EDON's CEO for 12 years and uniquely instrumental in the passage of WC1 in 2016. Now, there were a lot of people involved with that, including every single voter who gave their confidence to us for this. And then there's also some people that were deeply instrumental to making that moment happen, and Mike Kazmierski is one of them. And so his work and the work of our business community really lifted us up with that, and we have the benefit of affecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions eventually, of our students over the course of the years. So congratulations to him on his retirement. I also attended, I had a wonderful time at the Art of Childhood in support of the Children's Cabinet. Also very happy to hear that they have no wait for mental health services that are needed by our students and our families. So just as a reminder to everyone that that's a resource. And then I have a fun one for you. Joined Clerk Rodriguez and Trustee Mayberry at the annual event in support of the Community Health Alliance. So we can cue that video up from there. Yeah. Who says school board trustees can't have a good time, right? So it's such a pleasure to be at these community events, to show our community our faces, and particularly show appreciation for groups like the Community Health Alliance, which provides such needed health information. And then last but not least, I wanted to recognize that the Engineering News Record named Proctor R. Hug High School the best K-12 education project of the year. Wow. And so congratulations to our WCSD building team, Clark Sullivan Construction, PK Electrical, Ainsworth Associates, and H&K Architects. Thank you. Yes, all right. No, I know that I went over. I was in appreciation. Okay. All right, thank you so much. So that closes out item 4.02 and brings us over to 4.03, our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Smith. I will echo President Smith's thanks to our team across the district for such an incredible start to the school year. I've been in dozens of schools so far, and the feeling is unanimous that it's been an incredibly strong start to the school year. And that's because of the hard work of our team here at Central Office, but most importantly of our staff throughout the district, whether it's our transportation, our nutrition services, our custodial and maintenance, and of course our teachers and aides and leaders in our buildings. We have extraordinary people doing extraordinary work, and it's been wonderful to see them in action and to see our students coming back. Only a few tears that I saw yesterday on the first day of kindergarten. But they were actually the kids this year. No, it wasn't parents. It was kids. It's usually the parents. I do want to thank all of the staff here who made our staff kickoff at the Reno Event Center possible. And our sponsors who made it financially possible so that we didn't have to expend district resources. I think that I wanted to offer a leadership lesson moment here. When I brought to staff that I thought it would be good to bring us all together, they said, well, it's going to be hard. I said, I know it's going to be hard. And I knew that doing an event at that scale that we'd never done before on a shoestring budget, that we would have logistical challenges. And we did. We had plenty of logistical challenges and lots of lessons learned. Next, we have a whole year to plan now. Emma's going to lead a cross-functional planning team so that we can get better sound so people can actually hear what's going on, that we can hopefully get better swag. They thought it was a little on the cheap side, but again, working on a shoestring budget. And work on transportation so that folks aren't, the buses aren't log jammed, and do it ideally in October when all of our staff can be there and our teachers and staff aren't feeling the crunch of back to school. So lots of good lessons learned. The leadership lesson that I want to offer folks is that as leaders, sometimes even when you know it's not going to be perfect, you go for it anyway. And because you do that because it's the spirit of what you're trying to do is important. I heard plenty of criticism, but I also heard a lot of gratitude from people who just said it was so great to be together. It was so great to see Diane that I worked with 15 years ago at Dilworth, and I never see her anymore. That was the biggest takeaway for me. Our staff, our team loved being together, and I feel that we have a responsibility to facilitate that sense of togetherness and belonging and shared purpose. And the beauty of it is that next year, they're not going to have to listen to me talk about the strategic plan. They're going to get to listen to their colleagues share the good work that they're doing and how they're living out the strategic plan. So rest assured it will be better next year. But I want to thank, you don't know how many people worked so hard and put some real sweat and tears into making that happen. And I am deeply, deeply grateful. And like I said, we know where we can do better, and we will. I will also say that, again, at Mike Kazmierski's event, I presented Mike with the only non-staff ducky that anyone in the community has received, given all he's done for through WC1, taxi topper contest, the list goes on and on. I couldn't think of anyone in our community more ducky worthy. And he said he's taking it with him to his grave. So I think he saw the importance of that. And finally, as a board member for the Children's Cabinet, I want to publicly thank the team there and this entire community for coming together on Friday evening to raise over $800,000, the most ever, for our children and families in this community. This is a special place when people will come together and give so that the children and families in our district have the resources and supports that they need. I am deeply grateful for that. And with that, I just want to say that we will continue to get better, and it's going to be a terrific school year. I'm excited. Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, so that closes item 4.03 and section 4 entirely. And now we'll move on to section 5, starting with item 5.01. These are our public comments. JJ, who are we welcoming first?
Ron Dreher Sr.
Hi, Ron Dreher Sr. Come on down. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for being a senior. Good afternoon, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Ron P. Dreher, and I'm an associate representative for several bargaining groups in the district. Negotiations between you, management, and us as recognized labor associations are to be held in accordance with NRS 288. Both sides have a role in negotiations. Negotiations are confidential between the recognized bargaining aid teams on each side unless the parties mutually agree to keep them open to the public. In our case, our negotiations are confidential. Either party may keep their own side appraised of the status of negotiations. However, neither party has the right to circumvent the confidential negotiation process by communicating confidential negotiation discussions to opposite side members who are not on the negotiation teams. This is seen as an attempt to unfairly influence the opposing side's members and is called end-run bargaining. In fact, this would be a clear violation of NRS 288-270, which is considered prohibited practices by employers and employees. On August 16, 2023, one of the associations that we represent sent a confidential email to their members giving them an update on the current negotiations. Superintendent Enfield was apparently made aware of the email and decided to respond by email letter to not only the members of the association, but also to other members of the district in an effort to distort, divide, and influence those members. Furthermore, she had Chief Academic Officer Dr. Troy Parks also send an email to the number of district administrators. The very next day, she sent another email to those same members detailing specific confidential negotiation proposals which immediately caused division and dissension in our membership. That, Madam President and Board, constitutes end-run bargaining. And what is end-run bargaining? On October 2nd, 1996, the Employee Management Relations Board issued a precedent-setting declaratory order stating, quote, any attempt by either side to contact, directly or indirectly, the principals or any third person who is not a designated bargaining representative for the other side for the purposes of negotiating anything related to bargaining agreement without prior consent by the other side's authorized bargaining representative would constitute a prohibited practice in accordance with 288-270. End of quote. I appear before you today to request sanctions against Superintendent Enfield and those district representatives who violated the confidentiality of our current negotiations. The negotiation process does work, but it doesn't need illegal outside influence by Superintendent Enfield or her representatives, also known as end-run bargaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dreher.
Nicole Lopez.
Hi, Ms. Lopez. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Superintendent, President, School Board, and all people. I'm here because I'm worried for their children. The school year starts in a situation is happening about the transportation. You know, you change the school zone, but some children are affected with that. For example, my child. I had 3 children all this year, about 6 years, and they are taking the bus always in the same address. And now I had the second and taking the bus too, and now it's the third one. When on Monday when she tried to take the bus, she couldn't because she wasn't the assistant. And I went to the school to fix it. The people from the school, they are very nice. You know, high school, oh, wow, I love the school. Everything is great. But they tried to fix it and put the computer in the information. Many girls were the same names. They fixed it and they meant the email to supervisor, and also I call, but he never backed the call, and he's not accessible, he's not helpful to fix the situation because I called and they said, and the assistant, the assistant said my daughter had to walk. How my daughter, a little girl, she's a little, very innocent, had to walk a distance between Peppermill to Reno High. Look, the distance is very far away. It's so dangerous. It's unsafe. Something can happen, accident, somebody can steal it or another things. It's not safe. It's not safe. And I'm glad this happened to me because it's the person who is brave to be here. It's not easy. But I'm here because I'm worried for my children. But other children are affected with this situation. The Judith from the Reno High, she has many children. She told me, but she can give me the names because it's not safe to give you the information here. But if you call, you will know many children are affected. They can't take the bus, but they need it take because their parents had to work. They don't have time to go to bring the children to school and back because we need to work. We need to have been working to have money to have everything for the children, In the supervisor is not helpful to fix the situation. He doesn't understand. And this is the reason I'm here, because I need your help. I'm looking for help everywhere, but it's not easy. This is the reason I don't know how you can help me, but I really appreciate it if you help me.
Thank you very much. And just so you know, we have a staff member that's standing by that's going to speak with you right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here today and for making the time. We really appreciate it.
Dr. Elizabeth Sexton.
Hi, Dr. Sexton. Welcome.
I think you guys are great, just so you know. And I also think, Dr. Enfield, that was so spectacular at the Reno Livestock Event Center. I even liked the swag. It was wonderful. It was very moving. And so I'm one of your mental health programs administrators. I work for the students and children of the Washoe County School District, and by proxy, that means I work for you guys. I work for the University of Nevada School of Medicine in their Department of Psychiatry. I am a taxpayer. I'm also a proud parent of 2 children who graduated from the Washoe County School District and turned out incredibly. And I know it all goes back to their kindergarten, first grade, and second grade teachers. I'm not kidding. So here's my concern. I so appreciate what Chief Trevino was doing and talking about the HEAT team. I need you to know that not just one child is in the Washoe County School District. I see a lot of those kids. And 50% of the kids I saw last year have complex post-traumatic stress. And the frontline staff, your principals, are the ones that have their finger on the pulse of those children. And they are the ones that know every student's name by name, strength, and need. And I'm very concerned. I'm concerned about what happened with recent negotiations, because I'm sure you know what happens when we fall down the litigation rabbit hole and how expensive it gets. And so it shifted from, as you know, negotiation to litigation. And unfortunately, that's going to get very expensive. And think of how many Astros you could pay for rather than be paying for litigation fees. And think of how many kids we could be supporting if we didn't have to pay huge legal fees. And one thing that I remember from what Dr. Enfield said is that education is not just a job, it's a calling. And I do think, as a taxpayer and a proud parent of children who graduated from the school district, we could do better with our money than spending a whole lot of time in litigation rather than negotiation. Thank you very much, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sexton.
Kaylin Evans.
Hi, President Evans.
Hi, Kaylin Evans. I just wanted to say first thank you to all of you who I've been able to talk to personally regarding our previous push around the programs over people and just being aware of the money and the discretionary spending during the contract negotiations. The conversations were very constructive. President Smith, we had many of those around the consent agendas, and I also want to say thank you to those of you who responded directly to our folks who reached out, and you took the time to be reflective, and they felt heard and valued in those responses, and so thank you very much for that. And I know, in terms of negotiations, how we get there is just as important as where we go, right? And the ability, and I know this has been a top priority of our superintendent and this board, is to shift the culture of our school district. We can pay exorbitant amounts of money to people. If we don't continue to build a culture that makes our staff feel valued and supported and empowered, it doesn't matter what we pay them. And I just want to continue and just kind of emphasize that with all of you, because I know it's a priority. We've seen that shift occurring, and we just need to continue to be aggressive in shifting that culture. And one example I think that I want to give a quick shout out quickly is Katie Louise Weir, who many of you know. Long story short, we had an issue at a school site where teachers weren't going to get paid a stipend that they had earned last year. They were told because of some clerical issues that a deadline had passed, the grant money wasn't going to go to these teachers, and they were told, sorry. We heard about this at the start of the school year. I reached out to a couple folks, and Katie immediately jumped on it, and she easily could have said to us, hey, sorry, the grant, it's deadline, but she didn't, and she figure out a way to get this and do right by our folks. And I can tell you, not just the money that these people had earned and got to receive, but the message that sent was as impactful as getting the money. And if we continue to figure out ways to do right by our folks, and I know that's a priority, so I wanted to give her a special shout out to that, because she definitely went above and beyond quickly to make things right. And Dr. Mason is also not here right now, but last year there were multiple times where we had to figure out a way to do right by our folks, and we got to a place that we were able to resolve issues. And when we talked about it, the response was, it's the right thing to do. And it was the right thing to do, and it wasn't the easy thing to do, and it wasn't the traditional way that we've gone about doing things, but we made it a point to make sure that we address these issues. And if we continue to do that, we will create Washoe County as not just the premier place for educators to want to work, but the premier place for people to want to work. So thank you.
Thank you so much, President Evans.
The board received an email from Bruce Foster.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you so much to all of our public commenters. That closes item 5.01. And now for item 5.02, it's our next meeting announcement, which will be September 12th, 2013. I cannot believe it's going to be September next week. And that closes item 2023. Oh, I said the wrong year. Yeah, 2000. What did I say? 2013? Okay. Well, Marty McFly and I will get back into that DeLorean and change the date, because it's September 12th, 2023. And now that brings me to item 5.03, which is adjournment of the meeting at 4:10 p.m. Thank you all so much.
Wakes me up every time.